Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Tuning in to Next.js Conf here live from San Francisco, New York, London, and all over the world. Thank you for joining. I'm Lee Robinson, the VP of Developer Experience at Vercel, and I'm joined today by my host.
Hi, I'm Delba, Developer Advocate for Next.js.
And we're just going to kick things off today with a little pre-show. We're going to be joined by some community members, by some conference speakers, and we also have a special video that we'll show before we cut to the keynote. So you're going to want to stay tuned here and hang out for the entire pre-show as we bring in people. What are you most excited for the event today?
Okay, without giving too much away, because there's a lot of things to be excited about, I think I'm most excited for developers to try out server components. For some people, this is going to be the first time they use server components, and I really want them to see how intuitive it is, and also experience the performance improvements of server components. So as you know, a few months ago, we released the Layouts RFC where we talked about server components. So we are here to just lay out all the features that we have for you today.
I'm very excited about that as well, too. I think we're going to have some big updates on that coming in the keynote soon you're not going to want to miss. Before we bring on our first speakers today, just a couple housekeeping items. One, for everybody tuning in live at nextjs.org/conf, that's the place to be to watch the keynote and all the community talks today. We also have the Next.js community Discord at nextjs.org/discord, where you can ask questions, meet community members, and just hang out today during the event. So you'll want to go there and meet everyone for the community. But why don't we see if we can bring in our first guest here pretty soon. We're pulling people out from the community, out in the crowd.
Should we actually take a look outside?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's take a look and cut over to the room. We can see everyone hanging out here at SF Jazz, getting their badges, getting ready for the event today. We can also cut over to the door, potentially, see if there's anybody walking in right now. We've got some of the staff there letting people get into the event. Very exciting. We can cut back to the room. I see some of the people we want to bring in, some of these community speakers. And we can cut back, and I think we can probably bring on our first speaker here pretty soon. This person goes without introduction, a member of the Vercel team, somebody that we really enjoy working with, and a little special guest here. They created a framework, a language, a compiler that some people might be familiar with called Svelte. So why don't we bring on Rich Harris to come join us here today and chat a little bit. Everyone at home is just clapping along viciously.
Okay. Is this on? Do I need to? Am I audible?
Okay. I think so.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here.
Likewise.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions we want to ask you.
Yeah.
And one thing that has been kind of like a major theme this year among frameworks has been routing, right? So routing has been a big theme, and you shipped your router for CellKit quite fast. So we want to ask you, how has the reception been for layouts and pages and everything else?
So it's super interesting. I mean, I guess for context for people who aren't familiar with any of this stuff, I work on a framework called Svelte and an application framework built on top of Svelte called SvelteKit. And so if Svelte is kind of the equivalent of React, then SvelteKit is the equivalent of Next.
Yeah.
And for a long time, SvelteKit has had nested layouts and routes and things like that. And we were always kind of smug about the fact that we've had nested routes for a while, and Next has had the single page model for a while. And when the Next Layouts RFC came out, kind of looked at it and thought, oh, that's really smart. And so it kind of got us thinking about whether there was a better way for us to do nested layouts. And so submitted an RFC to the Svelte community and said, what if we do things this way instead? And the immediate reaction was super intense. Partly because we combined the Layouts RFC with some new data fetching proposals as well. Okay. And it was a lot for people to take in at once.
Yeah.
And so we had a couple of days of really intense debate in the Svelte community. And some of it was like quite kind of fiery because it's a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are used to building things in a certain way, and then you're suddenly saying, actually, like based on the experience that people have had building things with this, and based on these ideas that we have just stolen from the Next team,
it's a collaboration.
It's very collaborative. We're all friends here. But there was a lot of skepticism. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. But the idea, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything here, because the layouts RFC has been out for a while, and the people watching this
the people know.
The people know. It's
probably
coming.
fairly familiar with the RFC. The idea that your roots are defined as directories instead of files makes a ton of sense. There's so much more that you can do when you do things that way.
So much more intuitive as well, right?
It's more intuitive, it's more consistent. It allows you to co-locate components and modules with the roots that need them, instead of needing to put them somewhere else and then having to either do the ... / dance or have like an alias of some kind.
Yeah.
And it's just much nicer. And so we implemented that, and because we are pre 1.0, like we're not going from Next 12 to Next 13, we're going from some ancient pre-release to so we were able to do this as a breaking change. Like we just tore the Mandate off. We didn't need to worry about an incremental migration story. And so we were able to do it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And along the way, some people were like, oh, I don't know if this is like, I'm gonna move to a different framework. It's kind of like I'm gonna move to Canada thing that people say. But then once we did it, and we started polling people about whether they liked the changes, the response was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
As soon as people actually saw it in action and they saw the developer experience that this way of doing things provides, they were like, I get it.
Like once you actually start writing the code, like once you use the conventions, you start building an app, like okay, this starts to feel intuitive.
Yes, once you get past the who moved my cheese, like everything's changed aspect, and you really start to appreciate the benefits, then it makes a ton of sense. And so I'm excited about the changes that going to be talked about in Next today. I think it's a huge win for the Next community, and thanks for the ideas.
Yeah, I love when there's this collaboration between all of our teams. It works. That's the best. I think.
And it's similarly to the docs as well. I was reading the SvelteKit docs, and I'm like, I really need to get Rich to help us, because your writing is just so eloquent. Sorry, I'm just having a fun girl moment. But
very kind.
But definitely, it makes it seem a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we're aiming for, is to show people how intuitive it actually is.
Yeah. I mean, like docs are the product, right?
Yeah.
100%.
In a way. And I'm a great believer in documentation-driven development, if that makes sense. And so, for example, every pull request to SvelteKit has to be accompanied with the documentation that updates it. They're not maintained in separate repos.
Yeah.
And we've been I don't know, fairly consistent about trying to write all of the documentation ourselves, even though like a lot of people from the community really want to help out with documentation. We really value having like a consistent voice, and almost like, I don't want to oversell it, but like a narrative arc to the documentation. If you read it from top to bottom, then everything will kind of
like a guide.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's still a lot of work to do. Like one of the big blockers for us releasing SvelteKit 1.0 is having, in addition to all the reference documentation, we need to have some really good educational material. There is a fantastic beginner SvelteKit course that Steph Dietz produced at Vercel, and that is a key part of the strategy of teaching people how to use it. But in addition to that, we want to have some interactive tutorial-based content, which is coming soon.
That's exciting. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
But now, you mentioned SvelteKit 1.0. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So we've been working on this thing for 2 years, I think, at this point, and that probably undersells it, because SvelteKit is the successor to a predecessor project. So just to backtrack a little bit, Svelte is the component framework, came out in 2016, and the idea was, what if we use compilers to build user interfaces? And then, it got a little bit of traction, but like fundamentally, a component framework is not enough to build an application. You need to solve all of these other problems. How do I do my routing? How do I do my server-side rendering? How do I handle environment variables? How do I do data fetching? Like, there's so much stuff that you need to think about when you're building an app, and a component framework isn't enough. You need an application framework on top. And so back in 2017, as we were keep running into the same problems again and again, we looked around and we're like, okay, how can we, like, whose ideas can we steal? And obviously the answer was Next.js. So Sapper was SvelteKit's predecessor. Stands for Svelte App Maker, but it's also military jargon for combat engineer.
Nice.
And the joke is that if you work with Internet Explorer and Safari, then you are also a combat engineer. And so that went on for a couple of years, but it was very much of its time. It was tied to Node, and it was built on top of Webpack and Rollup because we didn't have things like Vite at the time. And back in 2020, I think, we announced that we were just going to shelve that and start working on SvelteKit instead. So SvelteKit is the next for Svelte, and it's built on top of Vite. And it's been 2 years in the making, and in September we had our first in-person conference for Svelte in Stockholm, the Svelte Summit.
Nice.
And we announced that SvelteKit is now in a release candidate phase. What we mean by that is that we are very happy with the design. We don't expect any more breaking changes. We're just fixing the last few bugs, implementing the last few features, and then writing all of the documentation, and then we'll be able to announce a stable release very soon.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Very exciting.
Yep.
And a lot of work too.
Very exciting. It is a ton of work. But the nice thing about the fact that I work at Vercel now is that I get to work on it full time. So this is like what I do 9 to 5. Me plus Simon Holthausen, who joined Vercel a few months ago. So there's 2 of us working full time. Plus we have like a large maintainer team of people who work on it on a more part-time basis. So it is a lot of work, but it is split between many hands. And so we think we'll have some exciting news fairly soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you so
thanks
much.
for joining us here today. It's fun just to have you hop on and talk all things Svelte, all things Next Conf. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Excited for the conference.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love Rich.
I'm excited for SvelteKit. I think just seeing the parallels between Next and SvelteKit it makes me extremely excited for the future of the web. If we go back out to the crowd, we see some people dancing around, jumping around out there, ready to get there. Oh, there's Tanner Lindsley behind the pole. We see, there's Steven in the back.
There's Matt.
There's Matt. We see everybody out there getting their badges, getting ready for the event. Oh, and there's Cap. I think Cap might be joining us today. She's one of our community speakers. We also have potentially a special guest coming on to join us and talk a little bit today. We have Una joining us.
Oh, hi.
Nice
Another one of our community speakers.
It's good to be here. Hi, everyone.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do?
Yeah, so I am a developer relations engineer at Chrome, where I focus on UI and dev tools. So I'm one of the people here representing how folks build interfaces on the platform and making sure they have the tools they need to do so.
Awesome. Cool. And what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to learning from all of these people. I feel like there's so much that has changed in the ecosystem over the past few years, and especially in the way that people build interfaces, components. I'm looking forward to seeing what Next has in store. I heard that there's a couple of improvements to performance that have some nice tie-ins with CSS, which is always very cool to see. So I'm excited to see more people using the platform and the tools that the platform provides to make really robust, fluid experiences that work well.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for just hopping in and just saying hi.
Yeah,
we
like,
appreciate you
come say hi. It's like,
come
all right,
say hi.
sweet, sounds
We're bringing
good.
in people to come say hi. Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
We're
thank
excited.
you.
And tune in for her talk as well on one of the stages today, Stage JRS.
Yes, I'll be talking about a lot of the changes that have landed in the ecosystem over the past year and some things that are coming down the pipeline that should make all of your jobs a lot easier. So that's the goal, and I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all think about it.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. The crowd goes wild at home. Everyone's just cheering along, cheering along. We have a couple other fun guests who can join us today. Whoever wants to come first, okay, we'll bring on a member of the Next.js and React community that some of y'all might be familiar with. This person has had a great impact on the web, and we'd love for them to come join us today. And talk about Next.js Conf. So everyone, welcome Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you? Can you stand here? Thank you.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it sounds great.
We can hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good. I just haven't slept very much, but I'm good.
I know. I feel like we stayed up pretty late last night, but we're hanging in there. We're making it work.
Yeah, we are. So I think everyone knows here that you work in the React team, but I'm curious to know, like, what have you been working on these past few months?
Yeah, so for the past few months and really for the entire, last year, I was working on React documentation. So I kind of started this project with racial neighbors,
it's really
and now I'm trying to finish it.
We were actually looking at the React documentation when we were trying to figure out what to do with the Next.js documentation. So it's great.
Yeah,
it's
great.
really good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anything else you're working on?
No.
No.
I'm just trying to finish it. There's like 20 pages left, about 20 pages left. If I write like a page and a half per working day, I should be able to finish it in a month.
Yeah.
Let's see
but
if I can make that
never
commitment.
done.
No.
But yeah, you've been doing a really great job.
Thank you.
What are you most excited about for the future of React? There's a lot of amazing stuff happening, but I'm curious what your opinion is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty excited about these server components. I don't think that's like the only thing I'm excited about, but I feel like for the past maybe like 4 years or so, we've been working together with like frameworks like Next.js, Gatsby, Hydrogen, and so on. We've been working on a bunch of architectural pieces in React that frameworks can really take advantage of. But you really only see the whole picture when you see all of them connected, like how to do data fetch and how to do like style sheet load and how to do how to reduce the bundle size, how to do code split, and I feel like when we've kind of tried to communicate about these topics, we would sometimes kind of maybe focus on like one specific aspect, and then it's not clear, like it kind of sounds complicated. And so I'm excited, like I think about like Next.js as being like one of those first frameworks that implement the entire picture of this kind of architecture, so that we can see, if it works. But hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I have trust in our engineers. I think they're gonna ship it. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up here and hanging out. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the conference.
Good luck.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Woo! Yay! If we cut back out to the crowd, we see that people are starting to filter in, go up to the auditorium and prepare for the keynote here, kicking off in about 12 minutes. Some people out here socializing, but back here in the pre-show, we have an additional guest to join us today, another one of our amazing community speakers. Everyone at home, please put your hands together and a round of applause for Cap. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming up here. I know it was very impromptu. We just grabbed her out of the crowd and brought her up here, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So nice to meet you in person.
Oh, I feel like I'm just in a room full of celebrities that I've seen on screen, and I'm like, no, you're all real.
These are real people.
They're real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel surreal sometimes when you look out there and you see people that you only know from Twitter. It's like, wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everyone about your talk?
Yeah, so my talk is about embedding, so I work at Sanity. I'm a senior developer relations specialist.
Go Sanity.
And my talk is about embedding the Sanity Studio into a Next.js app. So,
Nice.
yeah.
With the
Cool
big
little demo.
improvements in Sanity Studio V3.
Yes, so there's a lot of new improvements, and this is kind of like the first big demo, like on a big stage that we're showing to the world. So it's really exciting to get that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. What are you most excited for the conference today?
I think it's just like meeting all my friends, like my digital friends and like people who I've just looked up to. I'm in a room full of like the smartest people that I know, and so it's just really cool to be around these like amazing people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know, it's nice to get the community all together, get to hang out with some people, some that I've met before, some new friends, some old friends. It's a good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming up here and just chatting. I know we pulled you out. We'll let you go back to the conference and mingle with everyone.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Aloha, everyone. Thanks.
See ya. Thanks. Make sure to catch her talk later today for the community talks. It looks like we also have another speaker. We have a late breaking addition, a community member that we know and love, Mr. Swyx. Welcome, Mr. Swyx, to the stage. You could just walk up. Yeah, it's totally fine.
What's going on? Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Great.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. How's your day been so far?
Good. I finished all my meetings with my team,
Yes.
and the rest of the day is Vercel.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
excited.
Oh, for those of you who don't know Swyx, why don't you give a quick intro?
I'm Swyx. I do a bunch of speaking and writing about JavaScript, React, and the future of the web, and obviously that's why I'm here. I have to be here. This is the most important event of the year to understand the future of the web. So I'm super excited to be part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What do you?
And for those of you that might not know it, Swyx has 2 Twitter accounts, right? One is your main one.
That you know of.
After dark.
And then you have the after dark.
There might be more.
Yes.
We don't know.
Today I got my best comp. So I'm also social media manager for Svelte Society.
Oh, cool.
Which I started together with Kev and Anthony from Svelte Society, London and Sweden. And then also I'm social media manager for my company right now, Airbyte. Nice. And I got my best compliment that I've ever had in my social media manager career. So the guy said, Airbyte's social media team has the best game in data on the level of Wendy's.
Nice.
And when you get like Wendy's Twitter, I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, that
Wendy's
is
Twitter,
the best
yeah.
game.
Shout out to Wendy's social media team. Y'all are killing it. I'm sure they're all tuned in today. Hanging out here.
Exactly. So I said, hey, Wendy's, how many retweets for your free nugs, which is their most popular tweet. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's the kind of thing you have to do when you work in this business, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm prepping my side business of ghostwriting tweets for VCs.
Yeah,
I heard that's
apparently
a very profitable.
you can get like 200K a year for ghostwriting VC tweets. So.
Yeah, that's a new business opportunity for everyone at home.
But like, if you're that good, then cut out the middleman and just go raise the fund or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited. I've heard a lot about some little hints and mutterings about what's going to happen. So let's look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up here and hanging
Enjoy
out.
your day.
All right. Enjoy, everyone.
Thanks. Woo! Thank you, Swyx, for joining. Why don't we cut out to the crowd? We see a couple people hanging out here, getting ready, getting some coffee, getting some drinks before they head up for the keynote here in 8 minutes, getting their last-minute badges. We're going to have a video that plays before the keynote goes live. That video takes about 3 or 4 minutes-ish, I think. So we can probably hang out and talk a little bit more before we put on that video. I know you've been anticipating the video this whole time. Mm-hmm. You're on the edge of your seat. You're really excited. But the video, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it before kicking off the keynote. Should we give maybe a little spoiler? Just a little spoiler? I don't know.
Can we do that?
Can we do that? Are we allowed? Am I going to get fired?
I don't know. Where's...
We can say one thing. The release of Next.js today will be the biggest Next.js release yet. It includes some features the community has been asking for months, years. Yeah. And there's also a release that I don't think anybody's expecting. That's going to help speed up your applications, going to make iterating on your apps much faster. I think that's all we can probably say. Yeah, that's too much. I've said too much. You have to watch the rest of the keynote to find out.
Yeah, I think maybe something that people might be curious about is the work that went behind Conf.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. What have you been up to for the past 2-3 months leading up to this?
So I would probably say my work has just been taking all the information from our engineers and then processing it,
downloading their brain,
it, and then spitting it out and translating it. So a huge part of my role has been writing the new Next.js docs, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, there's been so much going on in preparation for Conf, right?
Yeah.
What have you been working on?
There's been a lot.
That's like a rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole. Our teams at Vercel have been putting in a ton of work for this conference. The Next.js teams, all the other teams at Vercel who have really been just sweating the details, making this the best event for everyone here in SF, in London, in New York, everyone online. We're super excited to have everyone joining in today. Before we kick off the video, there are a few logistical things I'll mention. Again, the Discord If you want to tune in and ask questions after the keynote, that's the place to be. We have a channel. There's banter. You can hang out on the stages and just talk about the talks, especially for the community talks as well, too. If you want to meet the speakers, hang out there, ask questions, that's the place to be. Immediately following the keynote, we will be switching over to the community talks on stages J and S.
Yes.
What is JS? If you, somebody asked us, like, what is JS? I was like, Next.js.
I didn't know that. It didn't click.
I know, it probably isn't obvious enough, but it's okay. And then after the community talks, we'll have the keynote. Closing keynote with Kelsey Hightower and Guillermo, which you should definitely tune in to talk about the future of the web from cloud to edge. I think we're probably about ready to cut over to the video. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? I don't know. We'll see what the vibe is. We've got about 4 minutes. 4 minutes? Okay. 4 more minutes before we want to cut over. That's totally fine. You know what we should talk about? We should talk about routing.
Okay.
How was the work on the layouts RFC? Because I know you put in a ton of work from kind of downloading the brains of the amazing engineers on the Next.js team, the amazing engineers who've contributed, all of our community contributors, and tried to put that into something that was approachable and easy for folks to kind of use and understand this future of where we're headed with Next.js.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah. So it went through a few iterations before we published it.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make sure we got the right mental model. And I'll probably say that I love where we ended up, because the Next.js router, like what people loved about it was the fact that it was so intuitive. Like you create a file and that's your route, that's your page. But then when you do that with nested routing, you can end up with a few weird things in your file hierarchy. Like you can end up with like duplicate file names and symbols. And I think Seb did a really great job in just like simplifying it and making it intuitive. So we have quite a few file conventions like loading.js, space.js, layout.js, which it's like you don't really have to think about it like, oh, how do I implement loading UI in my application? Everything just happens behind the scene, and all you have to do is create a file. Yeah. Which is really nice. So
yeah, I like to think about it like all of these patterns that have been built at the largest applications of the world, whether it's applications the Next.js team has worked on at their previous companies or at Next.js, even dogfooding Vercel.com ourselves, or just the largest applications in the world. It's extracting those patterns and trying to put them into an open source framework that everybody can take advantage of. Every web developer should have the tools to be able to build an application at the scale of the Facebooks or the Googles of the world, and prevent the closed source internal framework that is maybe a company specific thing.
Yeah, and like having strong defaults really help. One thing that I like to use as an example is modals, right? Yeah. Like how you create a modal. Yeah. Modals can be either really good or really bad. Oh, yeah. Like you can break your routing just by creating a modal. Yeah. So I really do like that, again, you don't really have to think about it. There's going to be conventions and patterns to help you with those things. So yeah, very, very excited about being able to build just more complex applications. But by that, I mean complex UIs. Yes. With simple conventions.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me today and giving all this commentary. This pre-show has been super fun. Thank you, everyone who's been tuning in, getting ready for the keynote. I'm super excited. Yes. Delba's super excited. We're going to run over and kick things off here pretty soon. If you have questions, again, go to the Discord channel and ask for the Q&A. You'll see us there here just in a few short minutes. With that being said, shall we cut over to the special video before we go to the keynote? Let's kick it off.
Get it again. Yeah. Here we are.
KidSuper is a clothing brand that has slightly evolved into media, fashion, art, music, and now tech. Our first website was all about creativity and showcasing the brand. When we realized that e-commerce was going to be our playing field, we wanted to add the KidSuper spirit to our websites. So we wanted it to be creative, we wanted it to be felt a little bit handmade.
We wanted it to be fun. I ended up in Ember, learned that wasn't fun. Then into React. It's way easier to do it now with Next.js than the stuff we were doing. And then it just assimilated into every web page that we're working on now.
When we first started this brand, having a website was something that felt almost impossible because I was trying to do it while I was designing, and now being able to come up with an idea and execute it at the level of our competitors almost instantly has made us really nimble and also allowed us to push the creative agenda that we have at KidSuper.
We use Vercel, and we're not just here to be here type of thing. So everyone who we work with kind of helps us push the brand.
KidSuper has done a lot, and we've worked with some of the biggest brands and musicians and artists. Some include Puma, Nike, Adidas, Jägermeister, Converse, Mountain Dew, Samsung.
Ooh, yeah.
The list never stops. Next.js makes it easier to tell stories. If we're trying to sell something to a brand or tell them to sponsor something, we make these interactive websites, and that was always cool to one-up our competition when we were trying to get deals.
We do this fast little website, or we'd be like, yo, let's make this thing. Like, by the time we go to sleep, we'll have a link and we're live. So you keep doing things like when there's no like barrier to doing the thing. Sending someone a website for when they wanted like a one-page PDF, people will just like instantly right away knew there's something up.
And they were always like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
One of our biggest pitch decks that we ever made, the URL is .vercel.app. We sent that to, you could argue, the biggest brand in the world.
Yeah. That's how they looked at our pitch, which was like 400 pages, which I built all in Next.js.
The main reason we started using websites as pitch decks was because I wanted to include all this content, and I wanted you to be able to click in and move around that I couldn't show in a PDF. It's crazy that it's just as easy for us to make a website as it is a PDF. Sometimes even easier. You're able to include so much different things at a very simple and quick space. I think it's cool to work and not see e-commerce and our website as a hurdle. I'm not even thinking that the website won't work. That's already in my head. With these tools, it raises the ceiling, right, of creativity. Sometimes when I was starting off, I wasn't even thinking about remaking a website or coming up with a website for a pitch deck. And now that it's possible and it's so easy with all of these new tools, it allows us to keep thinking and building ideas. And
we've now become an interactive brand rather than just a clothing or media or this or that.
Once a dream gets accomplished, it opens up more dreams and allows you to dream bigger. And I think that's the same with these kind of tools, where it allows you to dream bigger and have a bigger goal in life, because now I'm not worrying about websites. I'm not worrying about if it's gonna work or be up in an hour. Now I'm already thinking about, okay, how can I utilize these to do a bigger and better thing? Now, as we're growing, I want to blend both. So have the e-commerce be really efficient, but also showcase the ethos and creativity of the brand.
It's really cool that your brand can start showing through, knowing we have the same website build and production ready code as Louis Vuitton or Dior. It's like, we're seeing eye to eye there. So let's just keep elevating the clothes and logistics and all these different things. There's never a hindrance.
Now all we have to focus on is creativity, because we're on the same playing field in terms of e-commerce. Glad we're headlining Next Conf 2022. Hopefully to see you guys next year. Excited for the future.
Oh, let's go.